What's up? Welcome to another market recap. Today is August 12th, 2025. So, real quickly, get through here. I had no trades last night. I had my dollar Huff and dollar Singapore and CAD PLN were the main three I was looking at. The issue I ran into on these three pairs that kind of prevented me from taking them is that the entries for them occurred earlier, like pretty much between Asian and London. And in that little pocket of time, all of these pairs spreads for me, because they're all exotics, were too large for me to really enter the position with the size that I was looking for. So like this dollar Huff, if I was to enter, I was looking at entering somewhere in this area here. Or really I wanted to enter on the break of this trend line, but entering on the break of the trend line would have put my entry a good deal higher, which throws off my whole position sizing. Looking at entering it somewhere here, still through it above the trend line. So it really didn't become feasible for me to take the position. I could have taken it, but it would have just thrown off the position sizing and not really allowing me to go for the two to one risk to reward that I typically try and aim for, or I always try and aim for. So what I learned is when London session came around, so roughly about 2 a.m. my time, 1 or 2 a.m., the spreads on these pairs started to get tighter and tighter and tighter, to the point to where the spread became a non-factor by like 3 a.m. my time. But by that time, these trades were gone. There wasn't really an entry at that point. The entries occurred earlier. So I guess my takeaway is that if I'm going to trade some of these exotic pairs, that there probably won't be during Asia, but the spreads were tight during London as well as during New York. So they were all tradable during London, New York. They just weren't tradable during Asia. So surprisingly, even this CAD PLN for me was going to be was tradable London and New York, but in Asia the spread was just way too big on it. But either way, they all had live entries. Depending on kind of where you took them, likely could have captured 1R on most of them. It would have been close. It may have just tapped it. So it's hard to say. My typical management style, if I was in this trade, roughly somewhere around here, then it would have just been tapping my 1-to-1. So my stop would pretty much be at break even at that point. And if I held it through news, which dollar CPI came out earlier this morning at 7:30 or so, and that's where this kind of like spike down came from. So usually I'll exit manually if it breaks the 10-minute kind of trend or the 10-minute EMA and closes below, but you really wouldn't have had an opportunity to because the news came in so quickly and pretty much shot price down within like a 30-second period. So likely would have just tapped the stop for a break even on this position. Dollar Huff was the main one I was looking at. These both were close to entry, so I really wasn't watching dollar Singapore anymore. The only other main one I was watching was CAD PLN. CAD PLN again kind of had an entry. Could blow this up right here in this kind of area. On the break of this trend, you could enter probably about right here, something like this. You had to adjust the position size some. Probably run like a 50 pip stop or so. Yeah, a position size like that would have worked. If you're able to do that position size, again, you would have just been tapping the 1-to-1 right here. So there's not a whole lot to do from a management perspective other than to move the stop to break even. And so likely this would have been a break-even trade as well, if you didn't get hit with slippage on this breakdown and possibly take a slight loss. So none of these secondaries are all, very similar to the main primaries that I had. But either way, no trades for me. And let's get into watch list. So I'm going to go build my watch list, and I'll be right back with a completed one. All right, and we're back with a completed watch list for the upcoming session. Not a ton on watch for me today. I basically have some Swiss pairs and 2 kind of dollar pairs. The main pair I'm looking for today is this CAD Swiss right here. It's essentially like a wave 3 CBO. So wave 1 breakdown, wave 2 pullback, playing wave 3. Could possibly, if this continues down to S1 right here, could potentially be a play as well off of this level and play wave 2 instead of wave 3. It just depends how this kind of pulls back. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put an alert right there. You do have like this previous low over here that it would kind of be bouncing off of. So you do have some support in that area. Primarily though, I'm looking for a pullback to the pivot, 0.382, and the EMAs, as well as it broke a nice kind of trend line here. Overall price action is pretty clean, clear lower low from that previous low, right? Entering here would be a lower high. So an all-out trend change at that point, then playing that wave 3. So 4 2 to 1. Dollar Swiss, kind of similar vibes, but CAD Swiss has a lot cleaner price action. Blow it up here so you can see it a little bit better. You do have this level, kind of resistance level, support and resistance level right here. It's been respected. It's a little bit of a zone, but a decent kind of level right here that's been recently respected. In the past, though, the better kind of level is like right here, but that's more so our target. You have a mild break of the trend line. CAD Swiss has a much better kind of break, but similar concept, kind of a wave 1, wave 2, playing wave 3, right? And the retest, an entry about around the pivot. Granted, the fib levels are a little higher on this pair, so I don't know. It's secondary. Primary pair I'm looking for is CAD Swiss, but still going to watch this just in case this gets an entry, and the other one does not. And then pound Swiss. I have this labeled orange because it's not quite ready. Similar concept to the other 2 Swisses. You do have this like real shallow break, but preferably I would like this price action to have broke to like roughly this midpoint level here, and then the pivot to be formed a little differently, and then a pullback to something like that. And then I would play that to the 4-hour 50 type of area. So in a perfect world, it would look like this. So I'm waiting to see if this develops a little further and breaks down a little bit more, and then possibly give a pullback, or if this just kind of runs from here down to the 4-hour 50, 1-hour 200 area, and then instead play again like a wave 2 kind of pullback from that level. So. And then for the dollar pairs, I have this Kiwi dollar, which is sort of kind of a CBO on your 1-hour and an IBO-esque on your 4-hour. But I'd almost label this one a tad bit discretionary. It's because like there's really not anything here on the daily. Like if you flow this up, like we're sitting at the daily 50 EMA. There's not really room to move one direction or the other. And we're kind of wedged between the daily 50 and the daily 200. I just like the 1-hour price action on this. And the 4-hour is okay as well. But more so, it's just kind of the 1-hour price action. Nice kind of like break of the trend, coming back for a pullback, and then play that wave 3. So, but I would label this a tad bit discretionary. I have it flagged as primary between these two groups, but I'm going to have to see how price kind of develops around 0.32, the pivot and the EMAs here. See if there's some nice deceleration. I imagine if this pair pulls back though, CAD Swiss or dollar Swiss are going to pull back, and I'd probably prefer one of these two over Kiwi dollar. But it's still something to flag. Since today we don't really have a lot of options as it is. And then dollar yen, similar kind of play, playing dollar weakness here essentially. If I blow this up a little bit though, see it a little bit better. You have this kind of resistance level that's been respected recently. You have a break of it coming back for a potential retest. So wave 1, wave 2, playing wave 3, kind of a wave 3 CBO. But again, I'd label this maybe a tad bit discretionary. And 4 hours, not the greatest because it's sitting on the 50. Daily is, I mean, you have room to move to the daily 50. So it has potential. And a day, again, when there's not a lot of options, it's worth flagging and keeping an eye on. So the main pair I'm looking for today and the cleanest kind of setup, I would say, is this CAD Swiss. I don't really have too many issues with it. I mean, the daily is nice. You have a great bearish engulfing candle off of the 50 EMA, so you have a bounce. So this would be day 2 of that run. Typically, I try and only trade day 2, day 3. I don't really like to trade any further into the daily run. So this would be day 2, so it fits that. A nice kind of wave 1 break, playing a wave 3 CBO, which are typically the highest probability setups that I trade. And good, clean price action, clean breakdown, 1 hour, 4 hour kind of a line. 10-minute, if it pulls back, is essentially going to be an ACB. So yeah, pretty much everything I look for in a setup this has. Just hopefully it pulls back to value and gives us an entry. Either way, that's what I've got on watch for the upcoming session, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. See ya.